is my new video blog for this week. I just finished my week 5 Powerscore course, and it was, I gotta say, I'm really learning a lot. I felt really good. All of the examples that he posed as challenge questions for us last night, I answered correctly. And I've started in on the homework. What I typically do is I go ahead and reread the lesson that we learned on Monday. Then I start in on the problems Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then I have class again on Sunday. But I felt so good with it today that I did what the book recommends, which is kind of skim. You know, I felt comfortable. So I skimmed. I got up to where my homework questions were, and we're dealing with assumption questions, which apparently comprise about 10 to 15% of each logical reasoning section. And I got to be honest with you, I am killing these. I am not missing them. There's 2 types of assumption questions. If you're studying for the LSAT, you'll learn one of them has a rogue element in the conclusion, and the other one doesn't. The way, and this may help some of you guys, the way I've learned to do assumption questions, really simple. Even if you don't know which type of assumption question it is, this works for me. Once you read the thing, you're going to read, and there's going to be an argument. Let me make up an example off the top of my head. All flat screen TVs. This, you know, of course there would be statistics and stuff, but in the conclusion it's going to say, so flat screen TVs are better than, you know, the older box models. And in that conclusion and throughout the paragraph, you need to pick out what you would say if you were having a conversation to the guy is his weakest point. But instead of weakening his argument, what you want to do with an assumption question is you want to protect him. You want to pretend there's a third party there. So you're listening in, and you want to pretend, boy, he just left himself open right there. So he must have assumed that we knew what to block that criticism from the third party. So basically what you're looking for is an assumption that the author of the statement is assuming that you already know, which would make the conclusion that you're reading valid. So I'm trying to think of the, you know, I haven't scripted this or anything. So the best way to do this is when you're reading it, if it says, if you use this cleaner in your house, you know, it will, wow, that's a terrible example. Okay, if you pour this solution in your pond, it won't hurt any of the animals in the pond. Well, that may be true, but the author, if he was to say that, he went through a whole thing about how his chemical was the best. He's assuming that the chemical won't hurt the other animals in the pond, the fish and, you know, the bees flying around the pond and the flies or whatever. But to make that assumption correct, that it won't hurt them, it also has to be assumed that whatever the chemical is killing is not going to kill a food source that the animals had, thus hurting the animals. So that would be the weakness there. The chemical might not hurt them, and he's saying, so use it. It's the safest chemical for the animals. But what the chemical is killing could cause harm to the animals because, let's say, they didn't have food or it altered the habitat in some way. So those are what you need to look for. When the guy makes the argument, you have to look at the argument and say, if I'm to believe this conclusion, what part has he left out? It's almost like you're writing your own premise to a conclusion. So you're saying, boy, okay, chemical will work well in there, and it won't kill all the fish and all this stuff, but what do I need to do? What do I need to add to his argument to protect him from criticism from an outside source or from a third party? So anyways, I think of it like that. I think about like I'm reading my buddy's argument, and there's someone there listening, and before they get a word in edgewise, I'm going to jump in and say, yeah, but D, it is also proven that the stuff it's killing in the lake is not a important food source for those animals either. And then he wouldn't have anything to say, and I protected my buddy. So assumption questions, I think they're pretty easy. We got into more of the grouping games, and of course I'm going to rely on Julie once again to do those, but I'm feeling more and more comfortable. I'm not going to get 100% on the games, but if I can get 6 of 8 questions right, and, you know, if I can miss 8 total on the games and get 20 questions, it's going to be what, 26 to 28 questions. If I can score 20 out of 28 on the games and perform like I'm performing on the other stuff, which are my strengths, 2 logical reasoning sections, and 1 reading comp, I'm going to be fine. So you got to, when you're studying for this, you have to do it. You have to you have to be honest, and then you have to say, okay, if these are my strengths, when I go to take the test, at least this is what I'm going to do. You don't have to do it, but those are the ones that when I study this stuff, I really hone in on it, because I need to hit 24 out of 28 when I take the test. And that's going to leave me a little slack room when it comes to the games. You know, I might get 25 on the games, but I need to see what my average is, and of course I'll report that to you. But let's say I get 18 to 20 right on the games. Okay, I'm all right with that. So 18 to 20, let's take the 20, and then there's 3 other sections. Let's say I get 20 on each of those. I now have 80 correct answers on the LSAT. I'm scoring a 165 or better. I think that's a 168. So it's really that simple. I mean, you have to play to your strengths on this test, and I'm finding you don't know what that's going to be until you start to study, but I'm finding logical reasoning, and thank God there's 2 sections of this on the test and 1 reading comp, because I think I can really do well on those. So assumption questions and grouping games are what we're doing right now, and I hope these videos, if any of you are kind of lurking in the wings and you haven't subscribed and stuff, but you're jumping in from time to time and looking at these, helps you. Just think of that assumption as preventing your buddy's argument from being shred to shit by a third party over here. So he's saying it to both of you, and before this guy can jump in, you have to see what the weakness is that he's going to bring up and defend your friend. That's assumptive question. I'll be posting again. Sometimes the videos, like today I've been studying all day, the videos help a lot because it's quicker and I can just kind of tell you everything that's on my mind. So that's it for now. Powerscore virtual class number 5 is under my belt. I will be taking a time practice test today. That's what they're recommending. So I'm going to, or not today, but this week. So I will be letting you know how I did on that. Strengths, weaknesses, all of that. I'll probably do that in a video as well. So until next time, and I'll be more regular. I've taken a few days off here posting. I'm sorry. Had the weekend and had to catch up on a little of my homework, so I couldn't post. But I'll be on more regular. So check on by, and you'll see some new stuff from me. Talk to you later. Bye.